But special cocktail. Nighties. Monday morning. Monday afternoon. Great day to be alive. A little more, what do we call this? Bayonets and Tomahwks. That's right. And today, I think we'll go through an action round. Over here, you'll see our year, 1755. Yeah. And here's the action rounds, and you'll see these 2 and 3 in the yellow. Those are like we call build-up rounds. And in between, we'll have things like fleets arrive, colonials enlist, and then it'll go into the campaign mode, and you switch decks there. And finally, winter quarters, and that's where there's a lot of cleanup and, I forget what else is in there. But why don't we just get kind of started with, and it's got a nice little player aid here, and gives you all the details you need. 10 steps in the typical action round. We did the setup. That's where you pick up 2 cards and discard 1 and keep 1. But now we're actually going into the play. And the first thing that happens is each player draws 1 card from his faction deck. French also draws 1 Indian card. Cards are not disclosed. All right. So you got French have their reserve card. They draw an Indian card. And another French build-up card. And we'll look at that. There we go. The 2X will double the movement of an action for a light unit. Over here we have light unit and a light and or brigade unit. We have a special ability on this one, Force March. In 1 army movement performed by a French stack, all non-light units may move 1 additional connection. That doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you consider that brigades only have a normal movement of 2, that turns it into 3. That can actually make quite a impact. I'm just going to pick one. We're going to go with the Force March. And when I pick this card, that means this card is the reserve card. So you're going to just be constantly cycling that card over and over again to either play it or the game ends. So Force March will be our card. We have this Indian card here with 2 Indian movements. You cannot, even though this looks like colonial light units, the same shape, nope, can't use it for that, only for Indians. And on here we have first successful raid by an Indian unit, Indian or French AP. The Indian unit returns to its starting space instead of being placed in the losses box. Yes, when Indians successfully raid, they go to the losses box. They get regenerated. I forget when, maybe winter. But there's the French. British come over and they grab 2 cards. And another Force March card. And I think I'll go ahead and hang on to that. Use that as a reserve. Back to the Atlantic Ocean with you. Okay, we've drawn our cards. Now, we would not have disclosed them. But then we simultaneously reveal in step 3. And the faction with the highest initiative value on the card gains the initiative. And that would be with the French at 5 versus the British at 4. So the French, now here's the thing, you get to decide. You're not automatically first player. You can choose to be second player. It's up to you. So if you want to be first, or you want to be second. And I'm not sure, I don't have any strategy for this game yet. I've got solid handle on the rules, but as far as strategy, I'm a monkey at a typewriter trying to type a novel. So you're going to see some just splattery, very splattery, and what the heck am I doing play. But this is just kind of giving you the overview how things work here. All right, so let's say the French player wants to go ahead and be first. One thing he can do, and this is important, I think it's step 4. No, that we are on step 4, and the French just chose to be first player. It doesn't say here. What? Player's action phase. Oh, we haven't gotten there yet. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. All right. Step 5 is resolve any AR start card events. Basically, this is an event card. We don't have any event cards, even though I showed you, what is that, Force March? There's a little black oval that will be underneath it that says AR start, and that's just an event, and you just execute it. And so. So, we're basically ready for actual action phase. First player French. And let's go down to the player's action phase here. Must land all friendly units currently on the sail box. That's up here. Nobody's going to do that. Nothing in there. If French, use APs on Indian card for French-controlled Indian units. All right. Well, like we said, we have 2. So yeah, you do have to use, that's a rule I didn't even realize. That yes, you do use the Indian cards first. So, what can we do? Well, let me tell you about the raid mechanic here. So you declare a raid. Here, let's find a place to raid just for fun. That's going to be the bread and butter French move, I believe, because they're going to have a lot of light units on the map, where the British is going to be, it's a little asymmetric. The British are going to be strong in the brigade. And so you have to kind of play to your advantages here, it looks like. So let's find something to raid. And we'll show you a little bit about movement here as well. Let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, there we go. Let's just do this one here. So I declare I'll use this action there. And I will activate the Malachite? I don't know how to pronounce that. Okay. Now he has movement of 3. And he can use these paths. You'll see that these, let's see if I can get in close here. Hold on. All right, as you can see, you've got these little dots here. And these are paths. These are wilderness spaces. And only light units can use these. Now, you'll see later that brigades can build roads. So that'll make it fun. And here is what your basically highways look like. This is also coastal. You see a little blue outline on it. That means ships can kind of sail along the coast there. And that is the basics of movement right there. So let's get this back in the slot here. And he has 3 movement points. If he had that X2 card like before, he could go 6. But we only got 3. And let us go here. 1, 2, 3 to this little outpost here, controlled by the British. And we're going to raid it. Now, there's no one to intercept. I should have tried one where there would be an interception. But we'll leave that for now. There is nobody intercepting. We go to our little raid box. And we roll a die. Oh, well, we fail. And when an Indian fails, he goes right back to the spot he was in. And that's the end of that action one. That wasn't very interesting. Let's try another one. Let's see here. Let's go for Carlisle here. And we use the Chuanon here. 1, 2, there's no one here. And then 3. I don't think you control that when going through it. I'd have to double check that. I don't know if that applies to Indians or not. I'll have to go back and check that. But anyway, we're going to attempt a raid here. And where did the boot go? I think that's a hit. That's a successful raid. Where'd my thing go? Okay, who organizes this place? Yes, triangle, circle. Okay, I saw a question. Are these stickers or are these molded? It's molded. Molded and painted. Very nice. So, successful raid. What does that mean? Put a raid marker on it. Indian goes to the losses box. He will come back. Now, this rated marker means we cannot raid here again all year. You only get it one time. And you get the raid value, I mean, you get the value of the place here. So we go to, oh, can you get that? Ah, it's not in the camera. Let's adjust that shot there. We have a raid track down here. And we're going to jump it up 2 because this space was worth 2. 1, 2. Now, the way this is going to work is, if I can do enough raiding all over the map to get it up to 8, my score is going to jump up 1 point for either side, whoever does it. And like I said, the French are going to do a lot of this. This is going to be kind of your bread and butter. How are you going to get? So you're going to be doing a lot of raiding, trying to get a lot of points in like that. Okay, so we finished with the Indian card. Now let's move to our faction card. Now here's the thing the first player has. He can do all his actions now, and then the British player would do his actions, or the second player would do his actions. But before I do the actions here, I can do what's called reaction. That's basically where I save one of these for when the second player is done with his action. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Because I think, I guess in a sense, the second player has a little bit of advantage in that he kind of gets in the last word. This allows the first player to get in the last word at the expense of one of his, I mean, he has to hold it in abeyance, I guess, as it were. So you take a little token, put it right there to remind you that that's reaction. Once the British player finishes up, I can get in my last little lick there if I want. So the only thing we got here is a light unit action. And what should we do with that? Now, you're not required to use it. You would forfeit it if you didn't use it. So there's no saving of extra actions. So my options with light units are pretty much just movement and raiding. Movement can also trigger a battle if you're in the same space. And I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to do some movement. Down here, we have Illinois, as it were. And they're kind of tucked away in here. In fact, I don't see any way they can go in. They're kind of burning up space here. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them forward. And they get 3 movement. 1, 2, and the question is, should we go up here? Should we go up here? Let's start. Oh, there's a space in between. So let's just go here. That's fine. Okay, that'll burn up my non-light units. Maybe move 1 additional. Okay, I haven't been able to use that yet. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so I've used up all the French actions on this card except for the one held over for reaction. So now we move over to the British, and the British decide what they're going to do. Okay. So, let's start with our light unit. And just for a little demonstration purposes, I don't know if this is a particularly strategically ideal move or not, let us activate a light unit here and attempt a raid and retaliation. All right, I've picked this guy here. And we're going to try up in Port La Joie. Port La Joie. Okay. Now, I wanted to do this one because I wanted to show you guys interception. So here he is. He's got 3 movement. He moves once, and now he's moved into a space with enemies. Whenever you do that, the enemy gets to roll and try to intercept you and stop you, essentially. And so, the possibilities are, what is he? It's either a triangle circle will stop him, a Bayonets and Tomahwks will stop him, or a flag result will stop him. And that is if there is a light unit there is among the stack. I forgot to mention, you saw me move a stack from Illinois over here. When you execute any action, that triangle on the card, that means a stack, not just one. So you just pick units of that stack and move them out. Now, if there was no light unit here for them, then they could still intercept, but the only possibility to stop them would be with this the flag icon. So they attempted an interception. Oh well, they do it. Okay, he goes back. Now here's the thing, and I don't think I did it with the other guy. You put a sorry, I forgot I'm holding the camera here. Put a spent marker on him. He is done. I cannot activate him again this action round. So we go back. Oh, I made a mistake. I targeted this space here. I could only target this space here. I cannot move him through, even though he succeeded. If he had failed the interruption, I could not have moved on. I would have to have stayed there. Well, what would happen is if I succeeded, he failed to intercept, I would roll to see if I succeeded with the raid. If I'd failed, I'd go back. If I succeeded with colonials, I would have raided, and he still would have gone back anyway. But I cannot move through him unless there's called outnumbering and overwhelming. I'd have to outnumber him by 3 to 1, including militia. Okay, so I want to clear that up. I made a little mistake there. Sorry about that. All right, moving on to our action card. We use this one. Now we have this and this. Now you see the little anchor here. This is for sail movement. And basically, if we had a fleet here, we can move them up to the sail box along with 4 land units. But the next action round, they would have to land somewhere and take a penalty. There's actually a landing penalty, as I guess amphibious assault or something. They would take a battle penalty. But even though there's no flutes or anything, we can still use this as just a standard land activation. So it's not wasted. So we can still do something with it. There's actually, with brigade square units, we can do a bunch of actions. I show you the triangle. You could only move and raid. Got a whole bunch of stuff you can do with the square. Army movement, just like light movement. Sail movement, well, we talked about that with landing. Martial troops. Basically, this will allow me to pull in adjacent troops into one space. And you will take a battle penalty for that. But if it brings everyone in, they can get you more forces where you need them. So that's an option, is martial troops. Finally, construction. If I'm in a space, and you can't, and by the way, before anyone asks, you can either move or you can construct. You can't do both. So you can't move, says, okay, I'm constructing now. And what you can construct is roads or forts. And the way that works is, where's my... You'll be adjacent to a road or a path. Oh, wait a minute, where's that? Okay, there's 2 kinds. So you're adjacent to a path somewhere. Let's say you were here, and well, let's see, a brigade was here, and you wanted a road between here and here. You would use that. He was already there. He hadn't moved. He would use the action point, the action square there, to lay down the construction symbol. But then he would need to use another square to have that flip over to a road. And now that is a highway road, and the brigade can use that road because he cannot use paths. Squares cannot use paths. The other thing he could do is construct a fort. He would just, construction, and then you would pull one of the fort icons down and lay that down. But I don't think we're going to do any. We're not really in a position to do any good constructing or road building or anything like that. So I think for our first brigade, we are going to start moving a little toward the exterior towards the interior for defense, because I know the French are going to be coming up here and whacking on us. And for the second action there on the card, which I misplaced here, where is that? There it is. Okay. Let's just get into a battle just for illustration purposes. I will activate these guys, and I will bring them here. We're going to make an attack on Shinektu. Correct my pronunciation. Feel free. And it's a stack, and I can bring anything. With the brigade, you can bring anything in the stack. Hang on. Yes, anything mobile can move on a square action. That would include the artillery. So we're going to go ahead and bring this in. Like so. And we are in an enemy space. And since this is just movement, it's not a raid, they're not going to be able to there's no such thing as interception. I will mark this, however, as a battle. That ends his action points. Now, if we go back, remember the French had one of these. Reaction, he can activate either a light unit or a brigade. Now, we take a look here. We're going to have a battle. Should we bring some other folks to help? I forgot to we need a spent marker there. Spent marker there. And I don't think I can get any more brigade help. I sure can't. Yeah, well, force march. I assume I can move that. Can I get 3 there? 1, 2, 3. Nah, I can't get anyone to help out there. So let's say I did a light unit and brought them to the battle, just to kind of flesh out the numbers there. Now, you can, where I said these can only be used for Indians from the Indian card, this or this can be either one. So you can do either your colonials or Indians. Good rule to keep in mind. We'll bring in who's that guy? Bushahair, something like that. Okay, he's there. That ends all the action points or actions on the cards. We used our reaction AP. And finally, 9 is resolve battles from top to bottom of the board. So yes, so if you have a whole bunch of battle markers on here, you're going to start up here and work your way down, and there's a whole, if you're ever confused, here's the priority table. Newfoundland is the northernmost space, followed by Port-Dauphin and Louisbourg, and it just goes on down like that, so you can always tell which one is ahead of the other. So, we have one battle. Let's resolve that, so you can see a battle in action. Okay. And I'll kind of move them over here, line them up like so. And I'll keep the battle marker here to remember where it came from. Okay, so it's like that. I should put spent marker, but it doesn't matter because everyone's moved. First thing we do in a battle, battle steps determine the defender. The defender is the French because they started in the space and the British came in and Amen. So the French are the defenders. They'll go on the bottom here. Attackers on the top. Any militia? There are no militia. If you look closely, there's little silhouettes of soldiers there. They would count, and they become part of the battle. Here's an interesting rule. May replace one fleet with one artillery unit. So if there is a... So you can basically get emergency. I'm not hip on the full rule of that as far as there, but you can get some emergency artillery. Let me see if I can do that. Hang on. No, at the start of a battle, if a faction has at least 2 fleets on the battle space, no, I don't have any fleets anywhere, so never mind, and at least 1 artillery unit in its artillery pool or losses box, one of these fleets may be eliminated. Return to the fleet's pool. So not permanently removed, to be replaced by 1 artillery unit from the artillery pool, or if no artillery remain in the pool, from the losses box. So yes, you can scare up some artillery if you need to. Next, we combine same type reduced units. So basically, if you had 2 reduced, you'd turn it into 1 flipped over. Prepare battle and commander reroll tracks. We don't have any commanders in this battle. If we did, we'd put them up here, which would allow us to re-roll dice. Okay, now we calculate battle penalties. There are battle penalties. It means we'll move. We're both 0-0. We're tied for victory here before the battle. And you can lose some for various reasons. And we'll go through those. This was an amphibious landing. The ones doing the landing would have a penalty. A penalty is always -1. It can be doubled, by the way, which we'll get into. If I did that martial troops maneuver, that would be a battle penalty for me. If my forces are routed, I can get into that in a moment. That would also be a penalty. If they were out of supply, that would be a penalty. And finally, and here's the only one that's going to apply, is versus an enemy fort. The French do have a fort on that space, so the British are going to be backed up to -1 to 0. So technically, the French are going to start with an advantage here. Now, and I'll just point out that if I had not brought any artillery, which I did, that would be -2. It would double the penalty there. Okay, so we have our battle. We have our tracks ready, and we perform our battle rolls. 1 die per unit and militia counter. First, the attackers' units go, and they're going to start with their light. Well, they only have the 1. Okay, there's a whole priority battle roll sequence here. Non-Indian light go first. Indian go next. Highland Brigades, and I haven't showed any of those yet, would go next. Metropolitan Brigades, that is a Metropolitan Brigade because it has a little crown on the counter. And finally, non-Metropolitan Brigades, followed by fleets, followed by bastions or fort, and finally that artillery would roll. We only have these, so first we're going to roll this, and then we're going to roll that. Now, as I've mentioned before, square cannot harm triangle or circle. But they can still roll a flag, and if they do, that will advance the marker. So, we'll roll for him. And that is a miss. You missed. All right. So, we're at artillery. The artillery roll. Now, I can hit. That's a circle. And that's a circle. I can hit the fort. So, that is a miss as well. This battle is not going very well for the British. Okay, so they've all rolled. Now it is the French roll. French are going to start with their light units. We have 2 light units here. And like I said, they can't actually damage these guys, but they can roll flags, which they do not. They miss, and Bayonets and Tomahwks would have been good for him, but it is meaningless to light units. Finally, the fort will fire. Or not the fort. Yes, the fort. And it rolls the flag result, which moves this up to a 1. And that is the end of the battle. We calculate the outcome. The outcome here is that the French are up by 1, and so they're going to win the battle. Let's see. Now, rout. This could be a rout. If I had gotten 1 more point, that would have been 3 or more positions ahead of him. That would have routed the British, and we put a marker on it, and that would be a battle penalty, and so on. Okay. Retreat the defeated stack. Now, there's a whole bunch of priorities of where you retreat to. We're just going to go back to our normal space we were at last time. Update space control. Nope, there's not. We're just going to put all these guys back on their space. Like so. Any other post-battle steps? I don't think there are. So that resolves the battles, and then there's end of AR steps to complete an action round. And the end of action round steps are discard played cards face down. I do believe your own cards, you can inspect your own cards, but they're going to be discarded face down because there's actually not that many cards in the deck. This is why I sometimes call this a semi-card driven game. It does drive the action, but there's just not a lot of the cards, so it'd be real easy for someone to count the cards and say, oh, I know what's coming up next. And so that's probably why they have you discarding them face down. Okay, remove spent landing marshal markers. We had those here. Now they will be eligible to move in the next action round. Right. Supply check. Okay, we should talk a little bit about supply. Let's see if I can go through all the... Alright, let me check here. Basically, I don't want to get too deep into the woods here, but you can be supplied by a fleet, which we don't have any of here, or a colony home space, which is, you got the red here for the British, and so all the spaces here are considered supply sources. And blue for the French, the green, or the gray, it's like a grayish color here, and then the green is the wilderness. And basically, you have to be able to trace to the colony home space on a path that your unit can use. So for instance, if let's say we had say this light unit came down here. Let me pull these here. This fort here is not a light unit, so it cannot trace through paths. It must use highways and roads. And that enemy is blocking him. He can't trace through enemies. Therefore, this fort would be out of supply, and you would put a out of supply marker on it, which would yield a battle penalty to him. I don't see anything out of supply right now. We didn't do hardly any moving at all. And in fact, yeah, one of my moves should have been to cut off Oswego, but like I said, monkey on a typewriter here. Now what happens in the final AR steps? Supply check, we check that. Rally is when you have routed units, you can roll to remove the routing marker if you have commanders. And finally, after we've done all that, we advance that is the end of the action round, and we move on to the new round. And we go through all it again. We draw the cards, etc. We do all our moves and things like that. And then we come to Fleets Arrive. And that's when, let's see, where's all my pools? They're over there. Notice my lovely luggage. Anyway, that's when we would pull out our draw bag. The first one would be fleets arrive. So we'd put the fleet markers in here, along with any kind of penalty things, and then just start drawing them out one by one, and that would be our reinforcements for that turn. And then we would move on like that. The fleets arrive also includes units like this, and you'll put these in the bag with it, and these basically amount to dead draws. So if I draw fewer troops, okay, that counts as one of my draws. The amount you draw is on the scenario chart. You draw one, you pull that out, and that would be a dead draw for you. But you're hoping to pull brigades out, and then you'll set them on the map, and then you'll go on to the next round. Okay, that is an overview of an action round. And I hope you found that a little helpful to see how the game moves. Obviously, that battle wasn't very exciting because it was not very many units that could actually damage each other. One note I should point about when we were in that battle, if we had units that actually could hit each other, if you're in the negative column, you'll notice here, an X through the damage things. Basically, you can't hit a unit when you're in the negative column. You got to get it up to here. And once you're up here, then you can actually start flipping counters over. That's just an extra note I want to do. That's all I'm going to have for you today. I think the next video, we're going to move to some more solo scenarios for Atlantic Chase. So I hope you enjoyed this. Hope it helps a little bit. Thanks for watching.